right, next is our beloved NFC North. We have some discussions to do here, mainly on the fact that I have the Bears finishing last and David has them tied for last. So David has more faith in them than I do. But to recap, I actually, again, we didn't go through the intricacies of tie breaking, but just for the sake of the LOL, I have the Vikings winning the division at 11-6. I also have the Packers tied at 11-6, but not winning the division. And I think I mainly did that down to head to head or something. And then the Lions, I have them at 6-11, so a little bit better than last year. Then I have the Bears finishing last at 5-12, which I thought was very courageous and not Homer of me to do at all. Conversely, Lighting has the Packers going 13-4, then the Vikings 9-8, and the Bears and Lions tied at 6-11. So 13-4.
I told you I hated it when it was the same thing as who did I have earlier? Someone else 13-4. I remember looking at the final number being like, if you were to just ask me point blank right now, what's the Packers record going to be? I would say 11 and what is it now? 11-6. That's kind of where like my gut is. But when I looked at all the head to heads, there's probably going to be another loss in there. Now, I know at some point we're going to do week 1 predictions, but I do think that the Packers are going to lose to the Vikings here in week 1. And because of that, I could totally see your tiebreaker scenario playing out. But I don't know. There was just some of those head-to-heads I couldn't get over. And I could pull up my exact predictions here and we could talk through maybe some of the differences if you actually really wanted to. We don't have to, but
Well, I actually just pulled up the Packers schedule. I'm going to highlight some of their tougher games and just on gut instinct without knowing how they're doing into the season yet. I want to see who you're predicting they're going to beat. So they're playing obviously at Minnesota week 1. Who do you think wins that game?
Minnesota. That's a loss.
All right. Packers at Buccaneers week 3.
Had that as a loss.
Packers hosting Patriots week 4.
Win.
And then look at this. You go Giants, Jets, Commanders. Yuck. There's 3 wins. And then Packers at Bills.
Loss.
Cowboys at Packers.
Win.
Packers at Eagles.
Win.
Rams at Packers. I already know what you're going to say.
Win.
Because it's Matt Stafford and Lambeau. And then Vikings at Packers.
Win. I think I had some weird fluky upset loss in my actual predictions. I don't
Packers
remember
at Bears, obviously. It could be, the Titans at Packers, or you got Packers at Dolphins.
And maybe I had the Eagles one as a loss in my actual prediction because I could see that being a loss. And then maybe one of the Cowboys-Rams games because both of those are going to be very high-scoring offenses. But that still only gets you down to 12-5. So I don't know.
Well, the problem with the Packers is the problem, as in like for someone that doesn't like them, is that they get 4 wins automatically every year, even when the Vikings are competent. So they got Lions twice, Bears twice, pretty much lock it up every year. I know last year they lost to the Lions, but they were resting their players, so I don't put a whole lot of stock in that. But so I'm just going to count off like the almost surefire parlay this if you can immediately. Giants win, Jets win, at Commanders win. So what was that? That's 7 wins right there just without even trying. And then, I do think Matt Stafford at Lambeau is a cheat code for the Packers, so that's a win. And then
I also think Rodgers is going to want to go scorched earth on McCarthy. As much as he says like they have a great relationship and no ill will, the competitiveness deep down is going to say, I want to put up 70 against this guy to show him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And then the Vikings actually play at Lambeau January 1st. So we can go ahead and chalk that up as a win for the Packers because there's no way the Vikings will be playing well in that cold weather environment. Not to say the Packers won't be playing well either, but I think they'll play better.
Well, the only thing is that's going to be the game that probably decides the division too.
Probably. I mean, it depends if the Vikings have any sort of upward trajectory like we think we do. I mean, if yours is correct, that game will be meaningless. Because, the Packers would be 11 wins at that point. The Vikings would be 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Or 9. So
Oh, you know where I was mentally on that one? I remember it now because I actually did try to get into some of the intricacies. I think if the Vikings win that game, they make it as a wild card team, and if they lose, they don't. And I could see Green Bay really wanted to make sure to try to keep the Vikings out of the
what?
playoffs.
Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a chip on his shoulder like that. Are you kidding me?
but
What was like?
like I said, you
Wasn't
don't
it?
want to play the division in the playoffs either.
Wasn't it last year where it's like if the Packers won at Soldier Field, they clinched a playoff spot or something? I can't remember that. There was some. There was either this or 2 years. Was it maybe the Trubisky year where we played the joke game in New Orleans for the playoffs? That it's like if the Packers beat the Bears, and the Bears would have to win in the final week of the season to make the playoffs. And it's like, of course, Rodgers threw for like 400 yards or something because he hates the Bears and he has a giant chip on his shoulder for
Yep.
his whole career over nonsense.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, if it comes down to it, and Rodgers can keep one of the teams out of the playoffs just by beating them in a kind of quote unquote meaningless game, of course he's going to do it. So, yeah, I think for the Vikings, the key, actually sticking with the Packers, I think the key for the Packers season is going to be their receiving core. That's where I kind of have them falling off a little bit of a fall off is how many times did Devontae Adams bail them out of a game? Or how many times did Devontae Adams draw so much attention that it made everybody else in the field look good? So that's where I have them falling off a little bit of a cliff.
It could be a little reminiscent to like the 2015 Packers when they were without Jordy and Randall Cobb for most of the season, and that was like a struggle bus offense all year.
And then on the flip side, I think the Vikings have made a couple weird moves in the offseason, but I think no longer having Mike Zimmer as their head coach has ultimately led to a giant W for them because now they're actually into the modern era of coaching and their players actually have freedoms and high morale for once. So, like, I don't think they got better on the roster front, but I think just not having Mike Zimmer anymore and having a modern play calling system will help definitely their offense for sure. I think Kirk Cousins is going to hover around 4,500 passing yards this season, in my opinion. And I think we kind of established that Jefferson will be first or second probably in receiving yards, hanging with Chase and Cup. But yeah, I don't know. I think their schedule is also not super difficult. Again, you can kind of chalk them up for probably 4 wins against the Lions and the Bears, and then maybe one more against the Packers if they can nail it at home in week 1. But yeah, I think they're on the potential to doing something there. And then Detroit, I mean, I think the receiving core got better.
They're going to take a step forward. We both haven't taken a step forward,
Which is
I'll be a small step.
And then the Bears. So again, I've liked what I've seen out of preseason. It's not enough for me to think that they're going to take a step forward. And I don't. It's hard to blame them, as we've discussed before. They can't utilize 40% of their salary cap right now. Like it's all dead money that they're not going to get until next offseason or whatever. So it's just this institutional factors that are leading to not having the best team we could possibly have out there with not being as aggressive in free agency as we wanted and not having a first round pick this year. I think we're still playing catch up from the old administration. And as we talked about last week, we only have 22 players on the team that were drafted by the previous GM. So it's just a year of catch up. Unfortunately, our team is not as talented as it could be. But again, I think we're setting ourselves up for more success in the future. So we just kind of have to eat this one year and hope that we nail the next off season so we can get a much more talented team out there. But we have hope, unlike under the Nagy umbrella, where we just had no hope every game and we had to pretend like everything was rainbows and butterflies. I think we are on the cusp of doing well. We just need to kind of be patient and understand that this year is not going to be as good as it could be. I hope Justin Fields can take a step forward in his progression. I hope he and Luke Getsy continue to build a good relationship because if they do go 5-12, I really don't think, I don't think Getsy is going to be a bad play caller. And I don't think he's going to garner enough attention to be a head coaching candidate next year. So I think if he can stay around one more year and we do really good next season, then maybe I could see him being a head coaching candidate somewhere. But I'm really excited to see that continuity for Justin Fields to go from one year to the next with the same coordinator and try to continue to grow. And I hope we can snag a blue chip receiver either in the draft or in free agency the following offseason.
I was just gonna say, in my mind, that's kind of like best case scenario for the Bears is you go 5-12. Justin Fields shows tons of potential, but you still get a high draft pick and you get like you just said, a blue chip receiver. In my mind, that's best case scenario for the Bears.
Yeah.
Not best
So
case scenario record wise. I think they could win more games, but just for the outlook of the franchise in general.
yeah, there's some that we should win. You're looking at a couple like the Giants and the Commanders and the Texans, and we play the Lions twice. Them hosting Minnesota usually it's been a struggle for Minnesota coming to Soldier Field. And it's for the first time in a long time, it's going to be super cold when they come to Minnesota, or when the Minnesota comes to Chicago. So, and then there's games like, we lose to the Packers twice. You can pretty much put that in stone. We don't seem to have the best success at US Bank Stadium. So you can put a check through that one. We play the Bills, Dolphins, Cowboys.
Man, the Vikings really got the short end of the stick on traveling when they go to which away games into the division
I know.
this
Well, it's
year.
the first time in a long time. We always go to US Bank in the last game of the season, which is super lame. I think our NFC South game is the Falcons at Atlanta. So I like that matchup. So that's another one that could easily go our way. So I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited about the Bears season for the first time in 3 years, but I still think, we're not going to have the best seasons, and that's okay. I think, going into it, knowing that you're not going to be great versus, pretending that everything's all good in the off season and that we figured something out and Matt Nagy's going to lead us to victories, and knowing that it's complete and utter horse shit, I think was really demoralizing for me the last couple of years. So just like being away from that and listening to Matt Eberflus talk, and I don't think he's the greatest coach in the world, but I can at least respect what he's saying, and I can at least respect his approach to coaching and whatnot. So, or his approach to playing young players. If you're a coach on the cusp of being fired and you have the 7-year veteran who's average in a position, or you have the 6th round pick who has a lot of upside but maybe isn't quite there yet, who do you think you're going to play? Well, Eberflus really is intent on playing some of the younger guys so they can get experience, so next year they can play better. And I appreciate that about him. So again, not going to be a great year for the Bears, but I do think there are a lot of positives surrounding the team for the first time in a long time.
Sorry, I was doing a Twitter search on Hickey93 and the word Nagy.
No.
I was going to see if I could pull up any like old takes exposed about when you maybe said the same stuff about Matt Nagy in 2017 and 2018, but
I actually went back and deleted all my tweets, so you're out of luck.
Damn it, I was going to say it's only going back to 2019.
That sounds about right.
And some of them were replies. Anyways, one last thing I just want to say on the NFC North that I think will be interesting from a Packers standpoint. Again, easy for me to say, Mr. Homer. But it'll be interesting to see with the defense, in theory, taking another big step forward and becoming a dominant defense, hopefully. It'll be interesting to see how that changes the offensive play calling, where maybe you don't have as many shootout type games. So you do rely on Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, and like the short passing game more, and how that schemes up guys to be open versus, again, just relying on the back shoulder throw to Devontae or incredible route running by Devontae. Not saying that is the answer, but I'm just curious to see how that all plays out, since LaFleur is known for being a good schemer, or that was one of the reasons he was hired. And the last thing I'll say is the fact that we have 2 middle linebackers that are both 6'4" is pretty damn exciting, and I'm really, really pumped to watch that defense.
Mm-hmm. I'm really excited for January.
You can end that preview now. We don't need to talk any further.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the other 3 here. Thanks for listening. It's appreciated.